Hi, on today's video, we're going to go over 25 of the most commonly found items on a home inspection report. Now, you want to make sure you watch all the way to the end because I'm also going to include several items that are called out on FHA appraisals. And we're going to start right now. All right, number one on the list is smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. Now, on the carbon monoxide detectors, they have to be on each level of the home, and it doesn't have to be hardwired. You can simply go to Lowe's or Home Depot and buy the plug-in detectors for the carbon monoxide detectors. For a smoke detectors, they have to be within 10 feet of an inhabitable bedroom. So you want to make sure you have smoke detectors on each level of the home and within that 10 feet of an inhabitable bedroom. But those are the first two items on the list. The second item on the list is loose toilets. Okay, it's frequently that the inspector, what they're going to do is go into the bathroom and they're going to wiggle the toilet. And if there's a little give in there, then that means the toilet is loose. And that's something that's frequently called out. Now, it may not seem like that big a deal, but let's say that seal breaks and then all of a sudden you have sewage on a second story bathroom leaking over the kitchen. That would be a big time issue. Number three we're going to talk about roofs. You'll see missing shingles on the roof. Now in Nebraska, we have a lot of hail damage and thunderstorms. So if you're putting your home on the market, it's not a bad idea to have your roof inspected by a qualified roofer even before putting your home on the market. Now, you might think, well, hey, if there's hail damage, shouldn't I call the adjuster first? And the answer is no. You want to call a roofer first to make sure that there's damage before you contact your insurance company. So call the roofer first. And if it's a simple fix, you want to simply replace those shingles and make sure the roof is serviceable. While we're talking about roofs, another thing that's called out on home inspections is number 4, tree limbs that are brushing on the roof or tree limbs that are hanging over power lines. You want to make sure and be proactive and trim those tree limbs back before you put your home on the market. All right, we're still talking about roofs. Let's talk about number 5, which is gutters. Make sure the gutters are free and clear of debris. That's a simple fix, and it's just good maintenance. In Nebraska, we have basements, and a good way to get water into your basement is to not clean your gutters. So if you're new to our area, you want to make sure that you clean the gutters periodically. And another way to get water into the basement is via downspouts. You want to make sure that the gutter downspouts are connected and they're pushing water away from the foundation. So that's an item that's frequently called out, especially if the downspout is disconnected. So make sure that is done. All right, number 7, let's talk about, again, we're talking about foundation. You want to make sure that the grading has a positive grade away from the foundation. So the water, there's a positive flow away from the foundation. And that's something that you'll see over time, that settling will occur and you'll have dips and you'll have water that can get close to the foundation. All right, that brings us to, we're still talking about the outside, and this is something that is frequently on home inspection report, and that's number 8, which is the AC. The AC unit will get clogged with debris. The coils or the cooling fins will get clogged with debris, maybe some tree limbs, bushes and stuff growing around the AC. So make sure that those opportunity trees are cleared away, and to make sure, especially if you have a cottonwood tree nearby, you'll have a whole bunch of cotton on the cooling fins. You can simply take a garden hose and clean the AC unit, okay, which brings us to number 9, the furnace. Make sure the furnace has a clean air filter, okay? Now, while you're talking about furnaces, one of the things that gets called out on an inspection report is you can be proactive about this. If you're putting your home on the market, have your furnace cleaned and serviced before putting your home on the market. And make sure that furnace and AC company put on a nice shiny sticker to show that the furnace is well maintained. All right, we're still down in that laundry room, furnace room, and we'll talk about number 10, which is the CSST tube, gas tube, needs to be grounded. And this is a safety issue, okay? And it's something that was a change of the code in the late 2000s. They require that gas line to be grounded, and it leads to the hot water heater. So if you built your home prior to 2010 or so, that'll be something that's frequently called out on the inspection report. All right, let's talk about number 11. We're down in the furnace room, or we're downstairs. Another thing that gets called out is the electrical panel. Now, if you had your electrical panel replaced and the electrician did not pull a permit, so it shows that it's been inspected by the city, then that'll get called out on a home inspection report. So you want to make sure, if you have a new panel, that it's been inspected by the city. Otherwise, that's going to show up on a home inspection report. All right, let's talk about electrical. Another big item that's on a lot of the home inspection reports is number 12, which is GFCI outlets installed near water sources. Okay, you won't see this in new homes, but in older homes, they'll have a two-prong outlet close to the kitchen sink or to the bathroom sink. Those have to be in GFCIs. So be proactive about it. It's something that's going to get called out. Go ahead and do that up front. All right, we're still talking about electrical, which brings up number 13, ungrounded outlets. You'll have a three-prong outlet, but that third ground is not actually grounded. So that might be something that will show up on an inspection report quite frequently. All right, number 14 has to deal with the windows. Okay, make sure all your windows open and closed and are not painted shut. Make sure the window's locked. Make sure if the window is up, that it stays up and doesn't slam down and smash a child's hand, because that'll be something that will show up on an FHA appraisal as well. Clean your windows. Okay, and here's why you want to clean your windows. If you have a window and let's say it's foggy, or you clean it and you clean it, you clean it, can't get clean, that might be because there's a broken thermal seal. Okay, if that's the case, you want to have that seal repaired by a professional window contractor, because that's a watertight integrity issue, and that's another issue that may pop up on a home inspection report. All right, number 15 has to deal with peeling paint. And again, this is something that will get called out on an older home. And with peeling paint, it's a safety issue, because if the home was built before 1978, there's a chance of lead in that paint. And again, that's a safety issue on that. Number 16 is heaving concrete, which may present a tripping hazard. So you have a driveway and maybe there's some settling, and maybe there's been movement of that cement greater than an inch. Well, that could show up on a home inspection report, or if FHA, it could show up on an FHA appraisal. Okay. Number 17 has to deal with the stove. On an inspection report, a lot of times the inspector will want an anti-tip device installed on the stove. And what it is a little L clamp that is installed in back, so that way if a child stands on the front of the stove as you pull out the I don't know what it is, the cover of the stove, they don't stand on that and then flip over. That anti-tip device is going to secure that stove, and that's something that pulls up on an inspection report. All right, number 18, we're dealing again with children, and we're going to talk about handrails. Okay, the spindles on a railing need to be 4 inches or less for safety. And this is because what they're afraid of is a little tiny child getting their head stuck in there and then falling over, and their head gets caught, and they are suffocated. So they're looking for, if you repaired your deck and maybe you replaced the spindles, you want to make sure those are 4 inches or less. Another thing that pops up, and this is for FHA, will be a missing handrail. If you're going up the stairs in the basement and there's a missing handrail, that'll be called out on an FHA appraisal, and it's also a safety issue. And if you're putting your home on the market, just for showings alone, you want to have that handrail there for safety, for protection. Another thing with railings, and this is something that'll pop up on an FHA appraisal, would be an old metal railing when it's secured to the cement. With our market, with the snow and the rain and the different temperatures that we occur in our market, that railing eventually will rot out and rust at the bottom. So if you go to that handrail and you can wiggle it quite a bit, or you see that it's deteriorated, you want to go ahead and have that repaired. All right. That was actually 19 too. Number 20, let's talk about plumbing. It's very common for a faucet to leak, or there is a small leak under a bathroom sink or a kitchen sink. So make sure you check that prior to putting your home on the market, or prior to that inspection. If you have an issue, call that plumber out, be proactive. That way it's going to give that buyer a warm and fuzzy when they buy your home. That was actually 20 and 21. 22, we're still talking about plumbing. This is a common item. Bathtubs. They'll be needing caulking. Some of that caulk will deteriorate over time, and sometimes it'll just simply mean a simple proactive maintenance to caulk the bathtub. Number 23, again, we're dealing with the garbage disposal, and make sure the garbage disposal works properly. And this goes back to number 24. We're talking about the stove again, and that is, make sure all burners of the stove operate properly, because that inspector is going to turn all of them on at once. And that's number 24. Okay, number 25 is an FHA issue, and it's also a safety issue, and that is the garage door openers, those safety eyes that are towards the bottom. That what they'll do is they'll make sure that those retract. That way, if something's blocking those safety eyes. So if you have an older garage door, it'll get called out on an inspection if it doesn't have those safety eyes, because they don't want a child to get smashed by the garage door. So